The ruins of Oradour are familiar to Helene Koch. She knows every corner and house. As a volunteer working for the German organization Action Reconciliation, Service for Peace, Helene guides visitors groups through the village. She tells the story of the incomprehensibly brutal act carried out here by Waffen-SS troops. They murdered almost all the residents, 642 people, and set the village on fire. They killed men, women, and children. The building's skeletal remains bear silent witness to the massacre. This young woman is deeply affected by their message.
Every time it's a trip back into the past, I feel more fury and incomprehension. I can't grasp it at all. And because I can't explain it, that's when the grief comes.
Dadurch, dass ich mir das nicht erklären kann, dadurch kommt dann eigentlich erst die Trauer.
This was Oradour in the summer of 1944. This film was made shortly before the massacre. People are out strolling. And the Allies are advancing through France. The German army, the Wehrmacht, is in retreat. June 10th was a quiet day, when units of a Waffen-SS division, Das Reich, under the command of General Heinz Lammerding, came into Oradour. Robert Hebras will never forget what happened then. He was 19 at the time and was standing right here on this street.
The SS came in from back there and took up position over there. Then they ran down each side of the street, drumming people out of their houses and giving orders. Everyone obeyed.
Oradour's residents were rounded up. Then the men were separated from the women and children. The SS troops said they were searching the houses for hidden weapons. Robert says he was herded into a neighbor's barn with 40 other men.
They set up their weapons, 2 machine guns. Most people were standing in here in the middle of the barn. I was further back near the wall. And suddenly there was a loud bang and they began shooting at us.
He was wounded and played dead, lying beneath the bodies of neighbors and friends. He stayed there even when the SS troops set the barn on fire.
They threw all the flammable stuff they could find onto us. The fire reached me too. Then I had the choice between being burned alive or being killed by a gunshot. There was no way to escape. But then they finally left.
Robert was able to flee. Only 6 people survived the massacre of Oradour. When General de Gaulle visited the village in March 1945, he found a burned-out shell. He was deeply moved and ordered that the ruins never be torn down. Oradour was to remain a grim reminder of Nazi terror. The trauma of Oradour touched all of France, and it is still felt to this day. It was not until a few years ago that German volunteers like Helene Koch were allowed to work with French historians at the site. Here, a French school group is visiting. Having Germans help tell the story is part of the concept behind the Oradour site.
It's good that the Germans come here to work. They're not our enemies anymore. Times have changed. The Germans of yesterday aren't the Germans of today. There's another mentality.
German-French teams also work together in the archive. Many details of the massacre remain a mystery, even today. Helene travels in the region with French documentary makers. She helps collect material and interviews witnesses.
I'd have a really hard time coming to terms with it, and it's something I admire about the people who achieve that. They reflect and relive the whole thing again and again.
That is how Helene met Robert for the first time. She's visited the ruins with him many times since. Today, they decide to go to the church in Oradour. Robert says he'd like first to be there on his own. This is the place where the SS troops murdered all the women and children. There are bullet holes in the altar and the walls. Robert's mother and sisters were among those killed.
I look and ask myself, where did they die? Where were they? In which places? That's the question that's always in my head. Where did they die?
Is it possible to forgive such an act?
Yes, I can forgive the Germans, but never those who were responsible for it and who did it.
Despite what happened to him, Robert Hebras was in favor of reconciliation after the war. He's been working for decades since then to promote it. Robert says he's deeply touched that young Germans like Helene support his efforts, 7 decades after the massacre of Oradour.